world knows her as the radiant Princess of Wales, a woman admired for her elegance, grace, and devotion to duty. But behind the polished image of royalty lies a human being, a daughter, a wife, a mother, now facing one of the hardest battles of her life. Earlier this year, Kate Middleton shocked the world with an emotional announcement. Standing before the camera, her voice calm yet trembling, she revealed that she had been diagnosed with cancer and was beginning preventative chemotherapy. For millions around the globe, this was not just another headline. It was a heartbreaking reminder that even those who seem to live a fairy tale life are not immune to tragedy. Her words carried the weight of vulnerability. She spoke not as a princess in a palace, but as a woman fighting to stay strong for her children, her husband, and herself. The world listened in stunned silence. How could someone who had always embodied strength, poise, and resilience suddenly appear so fragile? This was more than a royal announcement. It was the unveiling of a hidden struggle, a moment that stripped away titles and crowns and left behind nothing but raw humanity. For her millions of admirers, it was a painful realization. Kate Middleton's life, once seen as a perfect fairy tale, has been shaped by challenges, sacrifices, and now tragedy. Welcome to Back of the Day. If you're new to our channel, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. We bring you untold stories of the most iconic figures, stories that reveal the truth behind the today. We explore the heartbreaking tragedy of Kate Middleton's life. From her childhood in a quiet English town to the glittering yet demanding role of Duchess and Princess of Wales, and finally, to her shocking health battle that captured global attention. Every great story begins with a turning point. And for Kate Middleton, that moment came not when she wore a crown, but when she revealed to the world her most vulnerable truth. But before we understand the weight of her present tragedy, we must step back in time. We must uncover the story of a young girl who, long before the cameras and royal titles, grew up with dreams, struggles, and a family determined to give her a life filled with. Kate Middleton's life was never simple. It was not born in a palace or wrapped in royal luxury. Instead, it began in an ordinary English town where she was raised in a family that valued hard work, tradition, and closeness. Her parents, Carol and Michael Middleton, built their own business from the ground up, teaching their children that success required resilience. And it was this resilience, planted in her during childhood, that would later carry her through unimaginable trials. Because while the world saw her as the smiling princess who seemed to have everything, the truth was far more complex. Every smile hid a pressure, every appearance masked a burden, and every moment in the public eye brought its own unseen pain. The cancer diagnosis was not just a medical revelation, it was the climax of years of living under intense scrutiny. Years of balancing duty with family, years of sacrificing personal freedom for the expectations of a monarchy. So, how did a young girl from Berkshire transform into one of the most admired women in the world? And how did the fairy tale life of a princess slowly unfold into a story of sacrifice, struggle, and tragedy? Stay with us as we begin this journey through the life of Kate Middleton, a journey that will show you not only the glamour of royalty, but also the unseen heartbreak that comes with it. To understand the woman the world now calls the Princess of Wales, we must first go back to her beginnings. Long before the grand palaces, glittering gowns, and international headlines, there was just Catherine Elizabeth Middleton, a young girl growing up in the English countryside, where her story truly began. Kate was born on January 9, 1982, at the Royal Berkshire Hospital in Reading, England. Her arrival marked the beginning of a close-knit family life, one built on warmth, love, and traditional values. Her parents, Carol and Michael Middleton, were not aristocrats or royals. They were ordinary, hard-working people who built a business from scratch. Carol, once a flight attendant, and Michael, a former flight dispatcher, launched a small family venture called Party Pieces, a mail-order business selling children's party supplies. What began at their kitchen table grew into a successful company, providing the Middletons with financial stability. But beyond business, their focus was always family. Kate, the eldest of 3 children, quickly became a protective older sister to Pippa and James. The bond between them was unshakable, and even today, her siblings remain her closest allies in a world that can often feel isolating. Kate's childhood was filled with the same experiences as countless other British children. Days were spent playing in the garden, cycling through the village, and enjoying the warmth of Sunday family gatherings. But her parents, ambitious for their children, wanted more than an ordinary life. They worked tirelessly to give Kate and her siblings opportunities that many in their position could only dream of. At the age of 4, Kate was enrolled at St. Andrew's School, a private institution that gave her a strong educational foundation. Teachers and classmates often described her as polite, well-mannered, and hard-working. Yet, beneath her quiet nature, she carried a strong sense of determination, a trait that would later define her royal journey. Still, Kate's early life was not without its struggles. Like many children, she faced challenges fitting in, especially during her teenage years. When she attended Down House, a prestigious girls' boarding school, Kate encountered bullying. Her reserved nature and shy personality made her a target. The experience was so difficult that her parents eventually withdrew her and transferred her to Marlborough College, where she finally began to thrive. This painful chapter left a deep mark on her character. It taught her empathy, resilience, and the value of kindness, qualities that the public would one day admire in her role as Duchess. But at the time, it was simply another hurdle in her young life. Despite these struggles, Kate found joy in art, sports, and academics. She excelled in field hockey, tennis, and cross-country running. Her teachers noted her discipline, her quiet leadership, and her ability to stay grounded despite coming from a family that was slowly climbing the social ladder. Her family's growing wealth, thanks to the success of Party Pieces, allowed Kate to experience a world of privilege. Skiing holidays in the French Alps, trips abroad, and a comfortable home in Berkshire painted the picture of a family rising in status. Yet, Kate never appeared spoiled or entitled. Her upbringing instilled humility and gratitude, traits that later helped her navigate the rigid traditions of the royal family. But perhaps the most defining influence of her childhood was her mother, Carol. A woman of ambition and determination, Carol instilled in Kate the importance of hard work, presentation, and perseverance. It was Carol who pushed her children to aim high, and it was Carol's vision that ultimately guided Kate into circles where she would meet the man who would change her life forever. By the time Kate entered her teenage years, she was blossoming into a confident young woman. At Marlborough College, she gained friends, excelled in studies, and began to develop the quiet grace and charm that would one day captivate millions. But even then, no one could have predicted that this girl from Berkshire would someday marry into the most famous royal family in the world. Her story was not one of destiny, but of preparation. Every moment of discipline, every hardship endured, every lesson learned during childhood quietly shaped her. Kate Middleton was not born into royalty. But she was being prepared unknowingly for a role that would demand every ounce of strength, resilience, and sacrifice. And so, as she grew older, her path led her to one of the most prestigious universities in Britain, St Andrews in Scotland. It was here, in the early 2000s, that her ordinary life would collide with extraordinary destiny. Because among the students walking those ancient halls was a young man named William, the future King of England, and their meeting would set in motion a story that captured the hearts of millions, a story that looked like a fairy tale, but behind the glamour carried unimaginable weight.